So here's a question for you that sounds like it's pulled right from a sci-fi movie. Can we actually teach an AI how to smell? I mean, you know the drill by now, right? We've seen these models do incredible things. We've taught them to see images, to write poetry, even to generate computer code from scratch. They've kind of mastered some of the most complex things we thought were uniquely human.
But there's one human sense that's still this profound mystery for even the smartest machines. It's this whole world that AI has barely even dipped its toes into. A world that's invisible, totally personal, and, well, chemically complex. Yep, we are talking about the world of scent.
Right, so this is where our story really begins. Because, smell isn't just a puzzle for AI. It's one of the big, lingering mysteries for science, period. Think about it like this. For our eyes, certain wavelengths of light mean blue or red. Simple. For our ears, specific frequencies mean a high note or a low note. But for our nose, whoa! There's just no simple map from a molecule structure to what we actually perceive. Like, why does this specific jumble of atoms smell like a rose, and that one over there smell like fresh rain? It's a black box we still haven't fully cracked.
And get this, the scale of the problem is just wild. Some research suggests that we humans can distinguish over 1 trillion different odors. 1 trillion. That is a massive, massive landscape of sensory data to try and make sense of.
So that brings us to the big question, right? A new paper from researchers at Yale and UC Santa Barbara decided to ask, what if a large language model, trained on basically the entire internet, could finally crack the code of smell just by reading everything ever written about it?
And to figure this out, they couldn't just, have a casual chat with the AI. No, they had to create the ultimate smell test, a really tough, comprehensive exam.
They called it the Olfactory Perception Benchmark, or OPE for short, and you can pretty much think of it as a final exam for AI, with over 1,000 questions digging into every single aspect of its knowledge about smell.
And let me tell you, this was no simple pop quiz. The AIs got quizzed on, well, everything, from identifying really basic odors to trying to predict what a super complex mixture of molecules would smell like. They were really pushing these models from every possible angle.
And some of the questions were just fascinating. Like, they'd show the AI a molecule's structure and ask, hey, does this even have a smell, or is it odorless? Or, okay, what's the main vibe here? Fruity, woody? They even got into things like, which of these two molecules is going to smell stronger? And they went deep into the biology, asking which receptors in our own noses a molecule would activate. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, but here's where it gets really, really clever. It wasn't just about what they asked, it was all about how they asked it. The researchers came up with this brilliant twist to see what the AI was actually doing under the hood.
So, for every single one of those 1,000+ questions, they asked it in 2 totally different ways. And this is the absolute key to the entire experiment. So check this out. On the one hand, they'd ask about a molecule using its name, like benzyl alcohol, easy enough. But then, they'd ask the exact same question using just its raw chemical structure, that string of letters and numbers you see. No name, just the pure chemical blueprint.
And that line of text has a name. It's a system called SMILES. The best way to think about it is, it's like a detailed, text-based blueprint for a molecule. It's a way for chemists to write out a complex 3D structure as just a simple line of text.
So why the 2 formats? Why go through all that trouble? Well, it was to find out if the AI was actually reasoning about the chemistry, or if it was just, repeating what it's read online. It's a test for true understanding versus just word association.
And what they found, well, it tells us a whole lot about how these AI models think about the world. This is the aha moment.
So, the top-performing model scored a 64.4%. And, that's pretty decent. It's way better than just random guessing, for sure. But that number doesn't tell the whole story, not even close. The real story, the big insight, is in how the AI got to that score.
And here it is, the big reveal. When the researchers looked at the results, they saw a crystal clear pattern. The AIs were always better when they were asked by the molecule's name. When they only got the chemical structure, the scores dropped. It wasn't even close.
And the researchers put it perfectly in their paper. They said, current LLMs access olfactory knowledge primarily through lexical associations rather than structural molecular reasoning.
Basically, the AI has word smarts, not smell smarts. It knows the word vanilla shows up next to the word sweet online, but it struggles to figure that out just by looking at the molecule's blueprint.
And this whole thing, it points to a much bigger, more fundamental issue in AI research. It's something called the grounding gap.
So what is this grounding gap? Well, it means these AI models struggle to connect language to real-world physical experiences they've never actually had. An AI can write a beautiful poem about a rose because it's read millions of descriptions, but it has never, ever smelled one. It can't ground the word in that actual sensory experience.
And that's why smell is so incredibly hard for AI. First, it's a physical embodied sense. You have to be there. Second, we just don't describe smells in text as often or as detailed as we do sights and sounds. And finally, it requires this huge leap from an abstract chemical structure to a rich sensory perception. For now, that remains a huge challenge.
So, that leaves us with this one last big question to chew on. If an AI can't understand a rose just by looking at its chemical blueprint, how can we ever expect it to truly understand our world? It really makes you think about the difference between knowing words and, well, actually knowing.